Thanks for joining us today. I'm Deborah McGrath, Principal Product Marketing Engineer and SPM Academy Webinars host. Today's topic is Enterprise Agile Planning, and we're thrilled to have once again joining us Fred Champlain, who's an Agile evangelist with our outbound product management team. And Fred will provide an overview and demo of Enterprise Agile Planning. His discussion will include highlighting the different configurations of Agile we support and how Enterprise Agile Planning extends the value of other capabilities across the ServiceNow platform. But first, we'll take a look at our safe harbor notice. While most of what we'll be discussing and showing you are features that are available as of this current release, this presentation may contain forward-looking statements that reflect the current beliefs of ServiceNow. All are based on current information available. However, actual results may differ materially and should not be relied upon in making purchasing decisions. So Fred, welcome back to SPM Academy.
Thank you, Deborah. Excited to be here with everyone.
Would you begin by telling us where and how Enterprise Agile Planning fits into our overall SPM solution offering, as well as maybe who in the organization benefits and how? Like, why do they care so much about Enterprise Agile Planning?
Deborah, perfect place to start, and it all starts with customers. So let me give us a bit of a framing of our conversation of Enterprise Agile Planning, and it all starts with delivering value. So let me quickly go through and just describe the overall end-to-end landscape, and then we'll take a look at EAP, Enterprise Agile Planning. We'll look at the functionality today, and we'll look at some of the great flexibility that we've introduced with releasing Enterprise Agile Planning. So, of course, value is really what matters. And you can see in the upper right that we're really looking from strategy through planning and building to running and servicing products, right? This is how we get value out to our customers. So with strategy, we begin with our strategic planning. And for Enterprise Agile Planning, we are taking the outputs of strategic planning and actually planning with those and also delivering on those. So in Agile, if we think about portfolios, we are thinking about epics that are aligned to our OKRs, for example. We are aligning it through continuous planning, through lean portfolio management. I'll be referring to SAFe today, and you'll see that while we're supporting SAFe out of the box, I want people to know that EAP is very flexible. We intentionally designed EAP to be flexible to support whatever flavor, whatever mix of Agile practices that you're using today. So while there's a emphasis on SAFe in some of the conversations today, just know, and I'll show you the very first thing we'll look at is how we've provided this flexible configuration. So as we go from strategic planning, we think about what our goals are, our priorities, which of course allows us to gain alignment in our portfolio. So here you can see in the middle of aligning along those goals and getting our work prioritized, getting funding, and making sure that we have good, governance around that. And this could be from a PMO perspective. It might be a Agile COE. It could be a value stream or a product line leader. There's a number of constituents in the planning process at a portfolio level. So if we think about once we have our planning completed, we're looking at delivery and how do we make this real, if you will. And for SPM overall, we have a number of different methods that we support, from waterfall plan driven to SAFe to scalable Agile. And again, however you want to deliver your work. So really, we're supporting hybrid work, which is very powerful. And most of our customers and most large enterprises, in reality, are a mix of Agile work and plan-driven work. Sometimes we have some areas that have just adopted Agile and have completely transformed. But usually in a large corporation, as you look at the larger landscape, you ultimately have a mix of work, a hybrid situation. So just to frame this up a little bit. And so as we go through this, and of course, as we think about delivery of value to customers, we take that value realization, we take that learning that we do, and we continuously bring this in a continuous planning cycle. So EAP was built with all of this in mind to be that core capability and engine that enables teams and teams of teams and even teams of teams of teams, as we'll see in portfolios and multiple portfolios, to actually align and continuously deliver value to customers.
This is the other thing we wanted to see. Who cares about this? Why do they care?
Yeah, Deborah. So when we look at the key personas for this for EAP, and there's many. Now we're just looking at really the key ones here. And there's portfolio managers, of course, and those portfolio managers, depending on the nature of the portfolio, it could be business stakeholders combined with technical delivery stakeholders. It could be IT stakeholders as well. It may be product stakeholders if you're more in a product situation. So if you look at the second persona here, product managers. It could be a line of business, it could be a chief product owner, depending how your organization is configured in terms of where products lie. And many of our customers actually are looking at or have already made a move to be more product centric, moving from program centric to being product centric. So they're aligning more to their value streams and aligning their funding, aligning their processes. And we are configured so we can satisfy any of these personas that you see here in terms of portfolio management, as well as we're using terms from SAFe here if you're not familiar with these, but a solution train engineer and a release train engineer. And if you're not familiar with SAFe, this could be like a lead scrum master or a team of teams type scrum master where they're managing multiple teams. And even scrum masters and team leads. Many teams are not necessarily using Scrum, might be using Kanban. So there's different terms here, of course, for these roles. But if you look across from left to right, you can see that this is the scaling that we have and we're providing capabilities for. So there's a number of needs here as well. As you think about portfolio managers, they're thinking about governance, they're thinking about funding, they're thinking about planning cadence. They're also thinking about technology horizons. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through looking at EAP, but also product managers, looking at backlogs, aligning to the goals and prioritizing work. And also we have capabilities with strategic portfolio workspace, which we'll talk about as we get into EAP, that we can define roadmaps as well. I mean, critical part of conveying and communicating what our plans and strategy are. So when we look at solution trained engineers, release trained engineers, Scrum Masters, really they're focused on the delivery of the work and looking at the activities at various levels. And again, we'll look at those levels, being able to see progress and also, importantly, being able to see dependencies and being aware of blockers when they do occur. So from end to end here, we have the personas that really are across the scaling of the organization. So before we hop in and look at EAP, which we'll spend a fair amount of time looking at the different levels of configuration in EAP, I just want to look at the guiding principles of really what drove our thinking around enterprise agile planning. And as we think about this, we're thinking about how we align our teams, top to bottom, if you will, from portfolios to teams, making sure our work is aligned. Many teams will use our goal framework to implement objectives and key results, or OKRs. But it doesn't have to be OKRs specifically. We have flexibility in the goal framework to provide more generally for goals. So again, however your company, your organization has implemented goals, we can align to those goals, whether they're business oriented goals or technology oriented goals. There's no constraints. We can support all of that together in across portfolios or within portfolios. So lots of flexibility with multiple levels of goals. This really goes to say that we want to scale your way. We have, as we'll walk through, there's flexibility to have different configurations by portfolio, and we can accommodate mixes of different agile methods as well. So some teams prefer to use Kanban and manage their flow, while other teams are more structured and are using Scrum and if you will, more of a traditional SAFe structure, where they may have several levels of planning underway and they deliver using multiple levels of delivery. So of course we want to leverage the platform So we're very mindful, of course, and we'll talk a little bit later, a little bit more about this in terms of how do we leverage the platform to put that whole picture together of how are we delivering strategically and thinking about our uh, financials, our capacity planning, looking at ITSM, how do we leverage telemetry from our applications that we're building and bringing back information about those customer experiences. We're also thinking about APM, application portfolio management, and enterprise architecture. So we're thinking about how do you plan, how do you manage your architectural runway, or use multiple horizons of planning to ensure that we have good infrastructure, good enablers in front of us, that we have the right things planned out. Of course, some of these have lead times that we have to consider. We will bring that together. This gives us the flexibility to evolve, and as we mature our processes, mature our agile practices, we can really update now what we're doing with EAP as well. So we have that flexibility to allow and to support that evolution, that maturity as organizations learn and adapt and undertake agile transformations, frequently as part of a digital transformation, an AI transformation, all leading up to business agility and business transformation to remain competitive in the market. We also are thinking about remote and async first work. We know that that's obviously a trend from the pandemic and persisting. And we'll continue to add and enhance enterprise agile planning in this area. You'll see more to come in terms of just really bringing together um, a work environment, a collaboration environment, a co-creation environment within EAP. And we'll use AI and Gen AI to facilitate that. So we're in the early days of Gen AI, lots of exciting things happening now. We'll continue, we'll see that as we incrementally build out enterprise agile planning. And so pulling this together really gives that alignment. It gives us that workspace. It gives us the collaboration that we want in a scalable way. So let's next go in and take a look at EAP and give you a sense of a flavor of what we have. So I'm going to, let me go over to my instance here. Deborah, I'm excited to show everyone this. We made the first introduction of EAP in February, and then with Washington release in May, this is what's been released, and we'll continue. You'll see in August and September timeline, you'll see more to come, and certainly into the following year. So we're being agile about building enterprise agile planning, and so this will be built out incrementally, and we're thinking about our current solutions and how this will integrate and the building up on those successes that we've had. So this is what EAP looks like. Now, first of all, it's within Strategic Planning Workspace, not a standalone workspace. This makes it very convenient for planning and being able to get roadmaps and bring this together. So that's one thing to note. What I'd like to start though is you see this here, which is exciting. Let's first of all take a look at the configurations capability that we have. So we've built this, as I've said, to work with different types of agile and mixes of agile. We know as as our customers, as enterprises learn more about agile, and sometimes, frankly, they do some fast learning. They have to adjust. That's all of the agile mindset. We've provided capabilities here to actually configure at the team level or the organization level to see, for example, you can have multiple levels within your organization of how your teams are set up or your team topology, if you will. And then also work item types or your agile requirements. We can go from here. We're using examples from SAFe, but again, I want to emphasize this is not strictly a SAFe solution. It has full flexibility to accommodate if you are using inspired by Spotify terminology or you're using Nexus or Discipline Agile, any of these methodologies we can support. And you can see here below that these are some of the configurations that we're providing just as reference. Again, these are SAFe, but we can easily modify these. I'll show you just quickly the capability we have and the flexibility that we have for a new configuration. So you can add your own configurations here for a portfolio, and you can toggle what you would like. Not all organizations will use what SAFe calls a large solution layer or capability for their work items, right? Or solution train. So we can say, no, we don't need that. We'd prefer just to have a portfolio. We may use features and stories with a release train or a teams of team structure, depending on which methodology you prefer to use. Or you may say, no, we just need that teams of teams, and we're going to use epics and maybe just stories. So we now can provide that flexibility. We also have flexibility around the planning calendar, knowing that some companies use different calendars for their different groups of teams. So it could be within an art. Maybe another art has a different planning calendar, different cadence of planning, different timing. We understand that while sometimes that's an objective to align those for scalability, a lot of organizations aren't able to do that for many reasons. And that may be a goal in the future where they do want to get planning alignment on their calendar. But we have the flexibility now to support that. So let me now move over to enterprise agile planning in terms of the actual functionality here. And we'll go first of all to this digital banking portfolio. I just want to point out on the left-hand side that you can see that there's a number of portfolios here. And of course, you can click through and see the configurations. Here we have a digital banking portfolio. This is a compliance and onboarding solution or large solution or solution train, however you'd like to think about it. If you're not using SAFe terminology, this is just another way to group your teams for scaling. And you don't have to use this as we just saw, right? We're flexible in how you can configure this. And next we have an art here. And I can show you also, here's another art. And it also has teams underneath it. So teams 1 and 2 are in this art. In real life, of course, you would have more teams. This is our development and demo data here, and a couple teams here. But in real life, you might have maybe 6, 7, 8, 10 teams. And likewise, you may have multiple arts within a solution train, and that varies a fair amount. But this could be whatever satisfies the needs of your organization. So at a portfolio level, we can scale up to whatever your organization is doing in terms of the size of your portfolio. Some organizations have smaller portfolios, some have rather large ones. So we have that flexibility. So let's go look at digital banking as a portfolio, and you can see the planning board here. But let me show you also the dashboard here. So as we think about what we'd like to know is how are we doing in terms of progress? How are our epics doing? We can see here just a breakdown of where they're at as they work their way from our funnel into analysis and what's in our backlog. What are we implementing? We can also look at our efforts around both investment and work around our goals as well. So if we think about what our goals are, and you can see here to the right that we have 3 goals, and this is just a breakdown to see what this looks like. I'm going to click on that, and you can see a lot of detail here. Here's a goal, and here's the epic. You can see where we're at in terms of state, and there's a lot of configurability here, as you would expect, to edit and change the columns that you're seeing here. Lots of richness here in terms of what's available, lots of flexibility there. So as we go back, we'll look at this. We can look at the backlog itself, and we can see what's assigned in terms of what's been picked up by each of the solution trains. We have 2 of them here. And then you can also see what's in the backlog for the portfolio as well. So lots of flexibility to see very quickly in a consolidated way where are solution trains, what are they working on, what are those epics. They may have capabilities that they're working on as well, so we can then toggle. And so this is the capability here. Here's some capabilities that have been defined for the solution train. Next, we'll look at the planning board, which is what we were seeing earlier. This gives us a sense of here's our funnel review, and we can see some details around this credit score monitoring epic. We can go and look at full details if we'd like here and drill down into this. And then we can find out the goals. We can look in and see if we have product ideas. This integrates with product ideas and product feedback. So lots of capabilities here. And when we look at the details, let me go back and show you. Of course, we've got, this is a portfolio. As we drill down, we can see epics across this, and here's the solution trains as well. So this gives us a lot of flexibility to see dependencies as well. So you can see here some dependencies, and we can, of course, create dependencies as we're planning. We can drag and drop if we need to, depending on how the work is done. So as we finish here, we can drag this over here. So the interface is built and taking improvements of Agile Dev and the Scrum board. This is providing us lots of great visibility here in terms of dependencies. And we'll look a little bit further as we drill down here. Let me just quickly go into our large solution layer.
And Fred, I'm just going to jump in another comment there. I love the flexibility with it, but also it's really easily configurable for a user, right? You don't have to, it's not dependent on the system admin, which is another couple questions that popped in about that.
Yeah, and even that is something that, of course, we can manage that in terms of the access. Who has access? Of course, you probably don't want to have that configurability wide open, but there will be, you may want some self-service as well, depending on how your organization is working. And just looking at our time here, Deborah, I'm going to look quickly at an art because this is where a lot of our customers are thinking about arts and teams of teams. You can see here, for example, for team one, and I'll just collapse this quickly to show you that we can have multiple teams here. So you can very quickly see, in this case, the stories. You can look at your capacity, how much of your load currently is for each of these sprints. You can see different statuses here in terms of whether we have a caution or do we have a dependency that might be, let's do something here and see if we can force these to, you wouldn't normally do this in practice, but you can see here, now we have a red, right? We know that we have a broken dependency that we need to pay attention to resolve that. Now, this is demo data. Of course, you wouldn't want to do this necessarily in practice, but it gives you a sense of just how dynamic this is. Also, I want to point out that we have the ability to build dependencies across teams. And so you see an example of that here as well. So again, this is part of that scalability, is finding and identifying dependencies and managing those across entities, if you will, around arts and teams. You also can see here we have goals for our PI, our planning interval. So we now have that capability as well. Of course, if you're here at art level, you can create a new feature and add a feature in if you need to. And we can do that certainly again here in terms of a backlog, of course, with that capability as well. So as you come from PI planning, typically you would be loading the new features for your next PI. And this is where you would see that. Let me wrap up with this, but this gives you a really good look at what we have with EAP. The look and feel is very scalable, lots of information at your fingertips, lots of configurability, both in terms of, again, the team structure, the requirement structure, but also, of course, in terms of what we can display here, displaying WSGIF, for example, in terms of estimating, and we support different approaches to prioritization as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about the vision for enterprise agile planning?
Yeah, sure. As we think about the vision, better together, right, on the platform. So if we think about enterprise agile planning and what we really bring across the platform is integration with the goal framework. I can't overstate how important this is, especially for organizations that are undergoing a digital transformation, a business transformation. Having those metrics that you can guide that transformation itself by are essential. Of course, if you have a product or program, whatever your context is, we can create goals And so that is throughout the platform, not just in SPM, but we can pick up and use KPIs to inform those OKRs and bring the status of those OKRs to life. Also, I want to emphasize on the platform our ability to um, plan and deliver hybrid work. This is something that is very is really critical in any organization, that large organization. Ideally, for some organizations, they may desire to be entirely agile, but we all know there's a journey involved in that. Whether that's a journey over time or if that's just the way of working for a particular organization, we can support that. So we're really independent and agnostic around methodology, whether it's a hybrid or even agnostic around agile methodologies. The other area here I would call out, and all of these, of course, have value, but I want to call it value stream management as well. So as we evolve value stream management from thinking about product build and delivery and more DevOps about, well, what does that mean in terms of value stream management, of operational or business value streams? This will be an area in the future that you'll see, I think, really some powerful capabilities where EAP is central to enabling our customers to think around products and those value streams and manage and see the performance of their value streams and align resources to those value streams as well. So that's a look at EAP. Like to wrap up here, Deborah, with just maybe sharing some events and resources for you. And Deborah, before I hand it over to you, I would like to just share a little bit about the SAFE Summit. We've been at the past several SAFE Summits this year in Washington, D.C. in October. We will have, of course, an exhibit booth there. We'll have our team there from product management as well. And we will be giving a live demo as well this year in the vendor stage. So we're really looking forward to this. We'll have a full contingent there. And we're very excited because last year we had some great interaction. Lots of people were in our booth. We had a very busy booth. And we're really looking forward to this event. So you can see the link here will provide information for you in our resources so you can get to this. And by all means, and even if you're not entirely all about SAFE, or you might be exploring SAFE, or just thinking about your scalability, this is one of those conferences that will get you thinking about all the things that you want to be mindful about as you scale your Agile in your organization. So Deborah, over to you.
Thank you, Fred. And thank you for your always enlightening discussion and demo of enterprise agile planning. Much appreciated. Just a couple more events, and I've posted the links to them in the chat window, so check them out. Our next SPM Academy webinar will be on Thursday, July 25th on collaborative work management capabilities. Scan this QR code for information and registration. This is really great. If you have any kind of collaborative activity that isn't a full-blown project, it doesn't require a project manager, it's just self-organizing teams. Check this out. We've got some great new features. And as a follow-up to this webinar, we encourage you to check out this great overview of ServiceNow Enterprise Agile Planning that you'll find on YouTube. Scan the QR code, or I've also posted the link. And just a reminder, you can view any of our SPM Academy webinars again on demand from our YouTube playlist, which is called Last Thursdays with SPM Webinars. I posted the link in the chat, or register for any SPM Live on ServiceNow events at community.servicenow.com under events. I do want to say many thanks to the Live on Now ServiceNow team for all the behind the scenes support, enabling us to offer our SPM Academy webinars. Thank you, and happy birthday to John Lim, my co-producer. Thank you so much, Fred Champlain, for another great discussion. And as always, a huge thank you to our SPM Academy attendees for joining us today. We hope we'll see you at the next SPM Academy webinar.